Okay, I'm going to start. So I don't know what the Atlantic Council is, but I'm guessing it's not really the sort of thing I would generally support. I mean, I literally know nothing about working together to secure the future, renewing the Atlantic community of challenges. They promote constructive leadership and engagement in international affairs based on the Atlantic community's central role in meeting global challenges. The Council provides an essential forum for navigating the dramatic economic and political changes. Yeah, so I don't know anything about them. But I do know that they wrote an article about our meme jihad. And they're not happy with it, I think. I mean, there isn't too much spin in this as far as I can tell. But they're interested in what we're doing. Macron Antoinette, alt-right targets France. Well, I coined the Macron Antoinette thing in my video the other day. And I'm not alt-right, but they don't care. That doesn't matter.
What is the Macron Antoinette thing? Remember, I've been off the internet for 2 weeks. I
Yeah, well,
completely have
basically,
forgot.
Macron represents the most wealthy and powerful interests in not only France
So
but in
the
Europe.
so the kind of let them eat cake kind of
Well, yeah,
attitude or something like
but
that.
more than that, I mean, he literally said that terrorism was an imponderable problem and that it would be a part of our daily lives for years to come. As you can see
Here's
in one of the
something.
memes,
Here's something you might not like. I agree with that statement.
it's
I'm sorry to
true, but
tell you
the
this.
problem is
It's true, yeah.
the problem is the phrasing of it. He said it's an imponderable problem, and that means he's not even going to think about
Um, yeah, true.
it. And
That's
that's exactly the wrong attitude to
that's
take.
that's the wrong kind of attitude. But the fact is, and I've seen people bash this kind of statement before because it was made previously by politicians as well. But terrorism is by now part of our lives. We have these self-segregated Muslim communities all across Europe. They're bound to produce terrorism until we confront these communities. And as long as we don't confront them, terrorism is going to be part of our lives.
Exactly. And Macron
Yeah,
saying that it's imponderable means that he's not going to confront it. He's
yeah.
going to pretend it doesn't exist because let them eat jihad. So yeah, so this article it's interesting. They start talking about how the election's coming up, and the internet is obviously a particular battleground. Um, the activity pitched largely in English is instructive because it shows efforts by essentially nationalist movements in the United States and the United Kingdom to influence international politics. As such, it appears to mark a further evolution in the phenomenon. Now, this is a really interesting thing because this is the future. This is the absolute future. The internet has made this the future, and English as the language of international relations means that this is going to happen all the time from here on out. Just in case anyone's wondering.
There is, however, something that has to be said about the French in particular, which is, you know, that France specifically has government incentives and government institutions to prevent English words from coming into the French language.
Yeah, they have an
Like, They're,
official
they're
Ministry
very,
of French, don't they?
yeah, something like that. Um, I have now, I'm not representative of anything, to be honest, maybe a little bit of this small YouTube community of ours, but I have significantly less French subscribers than, for example, Spanish, Portuguese, and even Czech subscribers. And I do believe actually that the French don't give a fuck about the English speaking world, that they stick to more to, I mean, it's kind of a
I
part of
agree
the
with that.
French society.
I imagine that they are far more insular.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but are they going to be able to have the privilege of staying ignorant if they have fucking jihadis on the
I
street
think
every goddamn
I think
day?
what in relation to this internet thing, I think what is more likely to happen is that this kind of meme culture, political meme culture, translates itself into a French language. I mean, there is a German version of 4chan called Krautchan, and there could just be as well in the future be a French version of 4chan called, I don't know, Baguette Chan, Frog Chan, or something like that.
But yeah,
Yeah,
it'll be called Frog Chan.
I think that even with the insular attitudes or even the insular structures within France, I think that once things become bad enough, and I think they have reached that point, they will look outside
Well,
for
actually,
voices, for
in this
opportunities, for
terrorist
anything.
situation, the insular nature of France showed itself as well, because they took their own course despite what Europe said. I mean, the current government is about to get kicked out, but what it did was create a government militia to patrol the streets and so forth. And the French Socialist Party is the only left-wing party in Europe, incredibly, which actually criticized Islam. The only one. So in a certain way, French isolation even expresses itself in this situation.
Yeah, but the thing with memes is you can't unsee them. If we start associating Macron with Marie Antoinette, as is being done, that's going to be something that's all over the internet, and it's not going to go away, especially as the shoe fits.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so they've got the heading "Total Meme War." On April 25th, an English language post on message board 4chan, I wasn't aware of this because I don't browse 4chan, called for the launch of a total meme war against Macron. The post read, "All right, everyone, our Golden Queen has won the first round and must face her final opponent, Macron Antoinette. While the media wants you to believe that her chances of winning are close to zero, all is not lost." Well, that's exactly the same as what happened with Trump and Brexit. I mean, they literally thought that the chances of him winning were like 98 against. So, many of Mélenchon's, the French Bernie, his voters, are refusing to vote for Macron, which could give us the edge we need. It's the same thing that happened with Clinton and the Bernie bros. So the course is simple: total meme war. See, this, I love how this fucking, the Atlantic Council is talking about a 4chan post and meme war. That's how much the game has changed, isn't it?
Yeah, it means that someone who studied journalism or something like that is browsing 4chan for information. That's.
But this is having an effect. This is not nothing,
this,
though.
I'm not saying this to talk down to 4chan. I'm saying this to talk down to him specifically. You studied this shit, and there's people on the internet who do a better job than you. There are people who influence people in a better way than you ever can.
Yes.
Yeah, and you don't even know who they are.
Absolutely, yes.
But yeah, so I'm wondering if this came from my video, because no Pepe's. Pepe's too weird and won't get much normally appeal. Focus on creating sleek professional stuff to set. I mean, that's practically what I said. Portraying Macron as a French aristocrat, really hammer the point that he doesn't give a fuck about the common man. He's an elitist who knows nothing of the common folk. Appeal to both Fillon and Mélenchon voters. This is all from my video. I'm sure you must have watched it. Oh, yeah. The link leads to a video from the YouTube channel The Thinkery. Hi, Atlantic Council. Thanks for the view. I hope you didn't have AdSense on, you cheap fucks. With further instructions on how to promote Le Pen and delegitimize Macron. As of April 28th, the video has been viewed over 130,000 times.
See, but that's the thing, though. These people see themselves as the gatekeeper, but they are disseminating your information. They are disseminating these memes. They are spreading the jihad.
Yeah, and there will be a merciless jihad. The Thinkery is a YouTube channel run by Twitter user Simon Ricard, widely identified online as Carl Benjamin. A UK-based commentator known for his attacks on feminists and Islam. Yeah, I do attack feminism and Islam. Not feminists, but okay, maybe you could say that.
Also the leader of the EDL.
Yeah, and his role in the Gamergate online harassment controversy, and I've probably hacked 4chan or something.
You are 4chan.
Yeah.
You're the hacker known as 4chan.
Of course I am. Like the 4chan post, the video calls for a professional approach and make these memes, of course, but yeah. The most popular comment under the video is this. I love that the thing is, right, I've been saying to people, look, you can tell the sort of public weather vane by looking at the comments and the likes. I mean, this is like a way to read the writing on the wall, effectively. And they're doing exactly the same thing. But yeah, we count on you Americans to make memes and save us. It's unclear whether this post is meant sincerely or an irony. That's the best bit, isn't it? They don't know if any of this is a joke or not. So, the meme war that the post and video refer back to is the so-called Great Meme War, a term coined during the presidential race in the US when Donald Trump supporters conducted guerrilla-style social media operations to harness support online. Source: Encyclopedia Dramatica. Entry in the Great Meme War.
Jesus.
I bet that's a hell of a good page as well, to be honest. I mean, it was fucking brilliant.
The fact that it has reached this level, that, like, again, I don't know who these people are either, but it's like the fact that they are actually referencing Encyclopedia Dramatica for like a source of information, or in this case, just a fucking meme.
I've read
the fact that we reached this point.
The paragraph beneath is the reference in the text place. Wait, the reference in the text placed this firmly in the English-speaking alt-right world. How? How is this specifically alt-right. French left-wing French left-wing candidate Jean-Luc Mélenchon, for example, is compared to American Bernie Sanders. Pepe is a reference to the frog image widely used by the alt-right internet users. Normies is a derogatory term for normal people who are seen as having been brainwashed by the mainstream media. No, yeah, but nah, I don't see normie as a derogatory term, to be honest. And the way they try to create this weird fucking...
It certainly has derogatory connotations. Same way barbarian.
I would say that it isn't really. I mean, normie is just a descriptor of someone who isn't quote unquote red pilled, but it's not necessarily derogatory in that it's not their fault.
No,
it's like the word faggot to me. In a weird kind of way.
I think it's more like the word barbarian when the Greeks used it. The original usage of it. It separates
savage,
like enlightened people from people still in the dark.
So what you're saying is that the meme jihad is our white man's burden. Is that what you're saying?
It's the green man's burden. Actually, I might call this video that. The green man's burden.
It's also interesting. This is a repeated formula that we are seeing all throughout the media. Whenever something in relation to this or to anything else is mentioned, it's always the alt-right. It's like everything is a Nazi, everything is far right, everything is extremely right wing.
And they have the balls to say that we're derogatory.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, literally, the term alt-right is a derogatory label. It's in their minds.
It's not just that. It's it's an obfuscating term. It's meant to be specifically inaccurate when used.
Are they calling you a fucking anti-Semite in this article?
Where?
The key narrative the video promotes are Macron's connections to the Rothschild banking group.
Oh no, he legitimately has. No, but he legitimately has connections to the Rothschild banking group.
Yeah, but the fact that they point this out specifically, you know.
Well, that's what I mean. At minimum, they're saying that you're conspiratorial, or
interpreted uncharitably. Yes, you can't even do that. He was an investment banker for the Rothschilds. This is his career history. It's not conspiratorial. That's what he did as a job. So it's redundant. Even if they were to do that, people would be like, yeah, but it's true.
Whatever.
Yeah, no, the fact that they specifically lay this out, you know, there's a lot of things you can say about him. You can say a lot about his attitudes towards the EU and so forth, and the stuff that you point out. But they specifically point out, apparently, that you ramble about the Rothschilds or something like that. So there's a very specific thing they want to convey there.
Yeah, but the thing is, that's specifically accurate. That's the thing. I don't actually think they're trying to be derogatory.
No. I don't deny that he worked for the Rothschilds or anything like that, that he worked for some banking group. But the thing is, they point this, they make this the top. This is the key narrative. It says here, the key narratives the video promotes are Macron's connections to the Rothschild banking group.
Yeah.
Was that really the key narrative of your video?
Yeah, that was exactly it. That was the point in framing him as a French aristocrat. Because he is among the very elite of France. That was entirely the point. This isn't misrepresentative, and this isn't a way of trying to make me look bad. Because this is literally what I did, because that's literally what he did. So that's...
It does look so for me. It does
I can understand how it would, but that's literally what the topic of discussion. That Macron's Rothschild career has been the regular target of attacks, including the English language alt-right. In this case, YouTube and 4chan posts have appeared to pick up on an existing trend. I don't think that that's the case. I think it's just, this is something that you happen to do with someone who worked at the fucking Rothschild bank. You know, you're going to think of them as an elitist. How else can you view them?
The fact that he has Obama calling him and not, I mean, he backed off later and said it wasn't an endorsement, but I mean, it is, it is a tip of the hat. And I mean, you got to understand that it's like, okay, you can't deny that this is the quote unquote centrist, but otherwise known as the corporatist candidate. Yes, that's who this guy is.
With no bones about it. Hey, Kex Army, you made it. And here's that info fact. So info about Macron, former Rothschild banker, worked in Hollande admin, pro-immigration, pro-EU, endorsed by Obama and Merkel. That's literally, I might retweet that. That's exactly what it is. It's literally, this is the thing, it's not conspiratorial at all. This is his fucking resume.
No, but it makes sense. It honestly makes sense at this point for someone who I guess is a journalist or at least is somewhat close to that, is at least disseminating this fucking article, and putting it together. I mean, is this anything different than the norm? Than them defending this fucking guy and calling you alt-right?
Oh,
I mean,
no.
is this
This is
anything
completely
to,
normal. That's why I'm not reacting to any of it. I'm not bothered.
No, but what I'm
do
saying is that, like, it's like even with this, it's just a matter of like they're out fucking apologizing for this fucking guy. I mean, what stake do they have in this?
Well, I don't think they
Why don't
actually
you
have
lay out what their
apologized.
stake?
I mean, they've not said that any of this is wrong. They're just documented it. And so far, they have documented it accurately. That's the interesting thing. This is
Except
a
for the
strategy
alt-right
document.
thing. I wouldn't say. Well, I wouldn't say they documented out accurately because the way they frame everything as alt-right is not exact, and the way they describe you as some kind of leader of a harassment campaign.
Yeah, but I think it's understanding the world where they come from. It would be like you saying the anti-Semitic Nazi party. I mean, in your mind, there's no question the Nazi party was anti-Semitic. But if you don't believe the Holocaust happened, you might take issue with the characterization, you know. But in their minds, you know, basically to them, I'm a Holocaust denier about Gamergate and all right. And they just can't accept that worldview. Okay, well, I can't accept your world, so, you know, but we can remain at an impasse on this one. I don't think they're trying to be derogatory, but it's just that in the minds of these people, these things have negative connotations. But anyway, on April the 25th, the same day as the 4chan post and YouTube video appeared, US-based alternative news site. Right, now I know who's ripping me off. Okay, go on. Liberty Blitzkrieg posted an article. No, I'm joking. Do what you like. Posted an article attacking Macron as a consummate banker puppet, which is true. He is a banker puppet. That post was picked up on and spread by other alt-right media outlets in English. So Liberty Blitzkrieg, Zero Head, Straight Logic, sort of ones you'd expect. This is amplified by English language Twitter accounts, which undoubtedly loads of bots as well and all of that.
You know, the guy that makes himself out to be in every way and everything that he says, at least as far as what I've seen him say, it's just the guy purports himself to be the status quo. So it's like, how can you say that this guy is anything but what he claims himself to be? He's not a radical candidate. He's not a reform candidate. He's not anybody. He's just the fucking status quo.
He may as well have status quo just slapped on his fucking forehead. In fact, that should be a new meme. Whatever the French for status quo is, just have that on every fucking Twitter account as well, you know. But yeah.
French for status quo literally is status quo. It's a Francophone word. It's a French word in the English language.
You know what? If I'd spent any time at all thinking about that, I would have known that. I didn't, because I'm an idiot. So the broader theme also spread a number of English language memes, some of which were posted in French text, in the body of the tweets. Good idea, although the French text should be on the meme, come on. Curiously, one of the first accounts to share Blitzkrieg's post was Pete John 10, which largely focuses on pro-Kremlin content, especially in and around Ukraine. Oh, it's a Russian hacker. We found our first Russian hacker. Who's Pete John?
We found the man that took out Hillary Clinton.
Okay, he's not exactly hiding his pro-Russia, anti-US bias, is he?
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a hell of a lot of tweets as well. This is an activist.
Yeah, pretty much.
This is a blatant activist. I mean, what? He does war conflict updates on his blog. Right, okay, and maybe that's quite an interesting resource, actually. Yeah, thanks very much. Right. So memes comparing Macron to Antoinette appeared on Simon Cow's Twitter account on April 24th, though without the name Macron Antoinette himself. That was one of my favourite ones. The meme was picked up by other accounts, some tagging my account.
Can I point something out?
Yeah.
The way they always specifically say English speaking. Is this Atlantic Council thing an European institution?
I don't know, but I think it's to differentiate between English and French Twitter.
Could be, okay.
Yeah. Just to maybe
it's just something that keeps catching my eye. You know,
they
constantly repeat the phrase English speaking.
Yeah, I think that they're trying to differentiate English and French Twitter for the sake of accuracy. I'm going to assume because I'm certain that this is a strategy document. This isn't a propaganda document. I mean, it's only been seen, but it's only had 2 likes. No, nothing. It hasn't been around. But this will go to people who need to know it. So yeah. Anyway, so good Macron Antoinette memes. I love it. On April 26th, advice on emasculating Macron with the meme was posted to the Reddit page. I don't even think this is the best thing to do. Well, I'm not. I never thought of it as an emasculation technique. Right, okay, so yeah, but I mean, I think that's just hilarious on the face of it. I'm not thinking about his masculinity at all. So tellingly, this post links to a meme on subreddit The Donald, one of the most notorious alt-right insertion points on the network. According to the study in February, The Donald shares moderators with Le Pen. Yeah, undoubtedly.
It's funny because these guys, he talks there as if he's someone who, maneuvered through 4chan to expose the alt-right, someone who dared go into the cave of 4chan. If you browse Paul, be it on 4chan or 8chan, you will very quickly notice one thing. They fucking hate Reddit, and they fucking hate our Donald. They do. It's they fucking hate Reddit.
But I'm not surprised that there's overlap between Donald Trump's subreddit and Le Pen's subreddit. I mean, if you to ask me, do you think there's overlap? I'd say yes, of course there is. But I suppose again, if this is to the totally uninitiated, maybe you would say that. So yeah, just more memes, which is good. So however, the meme and the term Macron Antoinette do not appear to have penetrated widely. The hashtag Macron Antoinette itself only recorded half a dozen uses. Twitter search. This is perhaps unsurprising. The link between Macron and Marie Antoinette was made in French in 2014, when Macron was Minister for the Economy. So what you're saying is he's had a consistent character, I
was going to say this doesn't help.
Yeah. Consistent character of being an upper-class twat who just doesn't give a shit about the plebs.
I think we just broke the real story. Sargon, did you steal that fucking joke?
What? What joke?
Now you're ruining my fucking joke by not understanding what I'm trying to articulate to
the
you.
Macron Antoinette thing? No.
Yes.
I can't read French Twitter, Jesus. And I think that's actually a major problem. We need to start talking to the Frenchies. So
yeah,
when you use that hashtag, tweet in French, just translate in Google Translate.
No, not just that. I think it is essential to have. I talked to one of my few French subscribers and wrote a script in French. I wanted to make a French video telling French people to make videos. I think we need a French member of the community. Wait a minute. Community.
Yeah.
Someone French making videos.
Yeah, that would be really good. If someone wants to host a French video, I'll make a French video. I'll host it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be
Come
great.
on, give us your perspective. I think it is
required. We want to hear.
Tell us what it's like to be occupied.
All right, have some sympathy. Jesus Christ.
I am sympathetic, man. I think it's I think that if you want to look at any nation in Europe that is a fucking just a scary example of what's happening in Europe, France is number one, man. Terrorist attacks every goddamn day.
Belgium is number one. Belgium is worse than France in terms of Muslim immigration. 25% of the population is Muslim, and it's horrifying. Brussels has no-go zones. Brussels has. Do you remember when they arrested the terrorist who was part in the Paris terror attack? They arrested him in a district in Brussels which is Muslim, and the fucking people who live in this district pelted the police officers who came in to arrest this terrorist with rocks and insults, praising the terrorist as a hero. That's how bad Belgium is.
Sounds like a vacation spot.
Yeah, right. Sorry. So, these are not the only ways in which Macron has been targeted. Earlier this week, BuzzFeed uncovered another anti-Macron narrative born out of 4chan.
Oh my god!
BuzzFeed were browsing
fucking
4chan.
Found the 4chan post. They found the 4chan.
This is breaking news, man.
No, this is what Wall Street Journal journalists call a scoop. If you'd like to use the correct terminology,
it really is.
They watched a bunch of PewDiePie videos. These guys have read 4chan posts. Yep. That is practically the same thing.
This is fucking the next Watergate. Right? This is big. I'm not fucking joking. Do you have any idea what kind of story they're breaking here?
Imagine going and getting a degree in journalism, 4 years and thousands of dollars. And what you end up
going to like Columbia, going to some major fucking college.
And you are reading some fucking neat post about how he's going to meme Macron. And then a bunch of fucking like university dropouts sit there and mock you for it. Yes. What a cruel irony.
Yeah. My God.
But all right, okay, here we go. Oh right, so this was talking about spreading false allegations about Macron, and I tweeted that I really advise him. He's got plenty of weaknesses on his own. Lying just discredits the person telling the lie, so don't do that. But so conclusion. These memes are unlikely to have a significant impact on the French election. None appears to have been widely circulated among French accounts. The Macron Antoinette concept was tried before in France and failed. Instead, they're interesting for the light they cast on the efforts of English language alt-right accounts marked by nationalist, anti-Islam, anti-globalization sentiment to globalize their own activity and influence elections and results in other countries. These appear.
Well, that's accurate.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, this is entirely accurate. These efforts appear to mark a further stage in the evolution of the alt-right from a collection of largely national actors to a would-be international one.
Jesus, come on. This is nonsense. This is such nonsense. If you take a look at the alt-right, they've always been international because the internet is international.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, what is the fucking
all of these communities that have similar like nationalist leanings, and we're one of these communities. There's all a bunch of different communities with interests that are harmonized. So this is like there doesn't need to be any international collaboration in that way. But he is right. I think that they're not having pickup with the French.
No, but that's where I agree with you. It's not going to impact the French election, but I believe it is a good representation of attitudes.
Yeah, it is.
It shows us what
it is. It is good, but it would be nice to have some effect. So basically, we need to speak to the French-speaking and actual French ethnic Pakistanis, and we need to know what they think is going wrong and what they think should be done. I would because they're going to have a cultural knowledge. Because in fact, this is something I was thinking about the other day. I was reading Nietzsche, and it really struck me when he was saying about the tempo of the culture and the character of the nation. And so he was saying that, look, basically, when a German reads Machiavelli or Rousseau or someone, they don't really understand the cultural context in which it's in, and they can read it as many times as they want, but they'll never truly understand it. And I think that we're having the same problem with the French, and that's why we didn't pick the right vector of attack that would.
I disagree with you. I think it is more with French culture. There's this German economist, I fucking forgot his name, who I read a while ago, who I think coined the perfect term for France. He called it the Gallic village. He means that in the term, you know the Asterix comics, which is this it's this small village in Gaul that is unconquered by the Romans and so forth. And that is the metaphor that France is a Gallic village. It's this place in Europe which doesn't give a shit where the rest of Europe goes. It's always going to do its own thing. And that has historically been true. Throughout the ages, France has always rejected any other fucking movement, political or social, throughout Europe. For example, the 70s and 80s, when big state national corporations were privatized all across Europe, France decided, no, fuck that. We're going to vote for a socialist president and keep our national industries and so forth. The French just have this national psyche and this national tradition of not going along with other countries, not doing something just because some other country does it.
That reinforces what I'm saying, because I'm saying that we don't understand the French.
I think it's something specifically French and not something specifically.
But the issue is
that's what I'm trying to say.
The issue is the reason why we're talking. But the issue is the reason why we're talking about this now. The reason why we're talking about Le Pen, we're talking about this issue of France, is to do with the fact that they went along with everyone else in regards to their immigration policy and in regards to their Muslim issue, their Islamist and jihadi issue. They went along with everybody else in Europe.
The French Muslim issue is, however, a little more complicated than in most other European countries, because the origin of the French Muslim population back to the 70s and the 50s, the first Algerian migrants who came to France were veterans of the Second World War. Like the majority of the Free French Army were Algerians. I think about 200 to 300,000 Algerians fought in Italy and in France and so forth. And those were granted French citizenship, couldn't be denied French citizenship because they killed and gave blood for France. And the French Muslim community has been in France far longer than anywhere else. This is not recent migration. Some of these people have been living there for 40 years. This is not comparable to Germany, where the Muslim migrations happened in the 80s, same as in Britain. So
right, but it didn't matter in the end. It didn't matter.
It didn't matter. Yeah, it's self-segregated. If anything, France is an example to show to the rest of Europe what happens in 20 years.
So, are you suggesting maybe some sort of reverse colonization?
I don't know.
Because if you've got a huge amount of national pride, and you could. I mean, I know that a lot of the Muslim immigrants from France were from previously French-held colonial territories in North Africa, like Morocco and Algeria. So, if it's looking like a form of reverse colonization, I think that some sort of imperial pride could be kicked up there. Again, any French Kekstanis, if you'd like to tell me, that'd be awesome, because we don't know. But I tell you, instead of speculating further, what I'll do is I'll post it, and then I look forward to hearing from people and what their thoughts are. So I think this could be something interesting.
Here's a little fact for you, an additional one. I only recently found that out. Muslims are 7.5% of the French population, but 70% of the French prison population.
And this is what I'm talking about. As Tommy Robinson called it, they're radicalizing each other.
Yeah, but that's really the thing, though. If the French were not going along with the rest of what's happening in Europe, if they were completely outside of, if they were on their own right, having their own issues, and we couldn't help in any way, or at least have some kind of convergence of ideas, they wouldn't have this situation where they have the glorified corporatist versus the quote unquote far right candidate.
They do have this situation due to a very specific thing, and that is, I mean, in terms of Islam, the French are not doing what the rest of Europe is doing. I mean, if you take a look at Britain, at the Netherlands, at Germany, and so forth, the majority of the political parties there cuddle up to Islam, whilst in France, it has to be said, even the left is now going after Islam, saying things like, yeah, it's not compatible with French values and so forth. And that has been going on for 2 years. The French go against this political trend.
Well, you've also had non-stop terror attacks. Terror attacks.
The reason why Macron managed to get into the second round is economic. Because despite with all the terrorist attacks that happened in France, there's one thing we forget, which is that France was economically brought almost to a standstill last summer by strikes from the unions. And unions have enormous power in France. You have state industries all across France. The entire energy sector is owned by the state. 2/3 of all working French people work for the state. And I do believe that Macron does gain some popularity through economic liberalizations, because Le Pen's economic policy is just the same continuation of state socialism, whilst Macron would probably favor some liberalization. And I actually believe that France does desperately need some liberalization and deregulation and privatization of national industries.
If I had to choose between the two, or I think the one is just going to be following America off a cliff, be warned, French people.
I'm not going to. If I were French, I wouldn't vote at all in this election. I don't like either candidates.
In that case, I'd always choose the candidate who was least damaging to my interests. Even if I don't particularly like either. Like, I mean, I think that Le Pen will support sort of stronger nation states around the world, which I think is important. I think now more than ever we need to kind of resist the sort of globalist influence, because I can honestly say, with hand on my heart, I just cannot make any argument for doing it. It's going to be bad. There is just no good argument for it. This fantasy that everything will just be fucking fine and we'll live like a fucking United Colours of Benetton ad. No, that's not how the world works. That's delusional leftist claptrap, and they don't know what they're fucking talking about.
Yeah.
Because they've never been outside their bubbles, because they don't know any of these people. They don't know what they're like, they don't know what they believe, they don't know what they do, and they don't know why they do it. So it's just like, just shut up. You're fucking stupid. We need to protect the nation state. Even if we have to go into some sort of worldwide confederacy or something, which I could believe. I can believe that, like, this is the thing. The better the communication gets, the larger the empires get. Now that we've got worldwide communication, it's going to be a worldwide empire. That's probably inevitable.
That is not what is currently at stake at this election, to be honest.
You don't think so?
What is at stake here is... No, what is at stake at the French election is what are the issues and concerns of the French people.
No. That's a micro scale. I'm talking about the macro scale, right? There is a distinct trend towards anti-nation state, the globalization of the world, and that's part of this conspiracy that Rockefeller's a part of. It's just George Soros's activism. And there are millions of these like SJW types who are totally against the concept of borders on the grounds that they're fucking racist. Yes. So this is a much bigger problem that we're looking at, and the reason that I would support Le Pen, and I wish I'd come out more in support of Donald Trump, to be honest, but he won, so it's fine. The reason I think the nation state at this point in time needs to be strengthened. The concept of the nation state in people's minds, like the idea that we need these nations. They're fucking necessary for the running of our societies, and the societies that come after the nation state are going to be inherently more tyrannical than the nation state. If anything, what we should be trying to do is like what we should be trying to do is break nation states up into their constituent fucking parts and have them as being self-governing and autonomous, because then you would have even closer accountability to the ground, right? So when like your local council is bought out by a major corporation, you're on their fucking asses because you don't even have to go very far. You can just go into town. It's just that is actually something the bourgeoisie could actually control. But this continual, I mean, what the fuck kind of influence do they think they're going to have over Juncker? Let alone over a supranational entity above the EU and the American Trade Federation thing they've got now, and all of these things that are popping up. What kind of control do they think they have over the people? The answer is absolutely fucking none. They're hoping to be the ones who run the system, and that's fine for them. That's shit for everyone else, and that's why it's important that Le Pen and Trump win and Brexit happen. It's important that these people lose, because the way we're going in, it's important to strengthen the nation state. It's going to be really bad for the working class.
I wouldn't say the nation state is everything, because I'm
not saying it's everything
necessarily. I don't necessarily believe that there is this grand conspiracy.
No. Don't do that. You've completely
But there's a notion of globalism.
You've completely simplified.
There's a notion of abolishing. No. I do believe that there is a notion, a continuous political notion of abolishing the nation state and creating some kind of global federalized system or whatever. But in elections, what matters most are the issues at hand for the people,
absolutely.
The constituents. And when you say, "Oh, your concerns as the French people are irrelevant comparison, or at least not irrelevant, but less relevant than my concern over some global issue," in the same way, in a weird kind of way, you're dipping into exactly
No, I'm actually doing the opposite. I'm actually saying that this is going to be completely relevant to the working class French people. And it will be relevant to them in, say, 10 years' time rather than 5 years' time. Okay, I'm not talking on a grand timescale. It's within their own lives, and it's within their own political futures. If they end up voting for Macron, I mean, we have been on the past 10 years. The decline has been visible. You can see the shrinkage of the middle class. You can see how people are getting polarized and pissed off because not enough people are wealthy, and the wealthy people are fucking insufferable. So it's it's obviously driving towards this cliff, and another 10 years' time we're going to be a hell of a lot closer to the cliff than we are now. And it's easy to see what's going on, and it's easy to prevent. All we have to do is strengthen the democratic power of the nation state, and that means voting, unfortunately at the moment, for nationalist candidates who understand that globalism is a danger to the nation itself. And that's why that's the reason that I would support Le Pen. Even if it turns out she's a fucking Holocaust denier or something, I'd still be like, yeah, but Macron is an existential threat to the nation I live in. I can't accept that. I can't vote for that. That's ridiculous. I mean, the people voting for that, honestly, it's hard not to see them as committing an act of sedition, to be honest. It's bizarre, but that's what democracy is. You can vote away your own nation
that's a
state
bit
if
of
you
a
want.
stretch. That's a bit of a stretch.
Well, that's what I mean. That's why I don't make videos calling
accusing someone of being seditious.
People
have the right to vote whoever they wish to vote.
That's why I don't make videos actually saying globalists are seditious. I understand that it's too extreme, but there is a perspective on this. I mean, the power. If you were to put the lens of power dynamics on, it's entirely seditious. I mean, they are literally trying to destroy the nation state, and that's how I exercise power over my fellow man.
It really is true. I mean, you're not wrong with what you're saying. I mean, we talked about a little bit this over Skype earlier, where this really is the interests of oligarchs trying to transform these nations into their own oligarchies.
It'll be a worldwide
that they can
oligarch,
reign over,
and it'll be an amazingly powerful.
That is what these people are after.
It'll be tiny too. It'll be fucking tiny.
And the problem...
Well, one of the things I dislike about Marine Le Pen is, for example, her connections to Russia.
Yeah.
Her very deep ties to Russia, and the way there's this creepy image of her daughter with this portrait of Putin and the portrait of Le Pen standing next to each other. And it looks so similar. It looks really fucked up.
Yeah.
And in a certain way, this is just, if Le Pen is just a cuck for Russia.
Well, then she's a cuck for Russia.
It's just... If she's just a cuck for Russia, that is also bad. But that's the thing. What are they going to do with it? That's no bit better.
What are they going to do with it? What is Russia even going to do with it? They can't do anything.
They're not going to invade Europe.
Like, I understand
it's an undemocratic nation, and I do not like seeing democratic frameworks challenged by anyone.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
That's
not good. But...
To say, we're going to prevent the globalized undermining of democratic structures by voting for someone who supports the ultimate underminer of democratic structures.
No, but that's
not something that I can go behind.
The fact of this matter is that what this is, in part at least, is the fact that the left has refused to bite the bullet on utopian bullshit for the past 30 fucking years. And at some point, the left does need to just get to the debate of the utopian versus the practical. We're not there yet, but it needs to happen. And this election is part of that, because what you have is a corporatist versus the far right. And it's so symbolic of where we are. There is no left-wing alternative. There is no plausible left-wing alternative anywhere, ever, in any nation.
Actually, the far-left candidate might be someone in France. The guy is also anti-EU and anti-globalization, but as mentioned before, he dropped out of the race.
I think
that's what I mean. It's about viability.
I think that is an interesting distinction, because if you're looking at like the voting patterns, like the type of people voting for these things, it very much is like the sort of lower classes voting against the oligarchy. Because I mean, these are all of the people who agree, are all the people controlling these massive institutions, which is why they're all backing Macron. They're all the scientists, all the all the philosophers. All of the intelligentsia, all of the artists, all of the people who rule over society
that doesn't necessarily have to do with the fact that doesn't necessarily have to do with the fact that they all collectively believe in some globalist ideal or utopia.
It's not about globalism.
I guess, with the history that the Front National has, and with her current connections to Russia and stuff like that, there might be a reason why a certain philosopher believes that this is not exactly something he would get behind. I mean, I'm not going to get behind it.
Yeah, no, I understand.
It doesn't mean that I'm part of a globalist notion of some sort.
And that's fine. I don't, people can support who they want. Or not, as the case may be, Yeah, I mean, that's fine. I don't mind. But I just think there is an honest sort of ethical concern at the moment for the existence of the nation state. And it's not a conspiracy. I mean, there are conspiracies. Like, we know that David Rockefeller was definitely part of one. But we don't know how big it was. But, I mean, it was probably quite influential, because he was an influential man. He did a lot of shit. And if people want to know, read his biography. It's all in there. He's just saying it. He thinks it's a moral good. He rationalizes it. You have to understand, these people don't think of themselves as evil power mongers. They think of themselves as people who are going to save the world. They think they're going to save the planet from humankind itself, because humans are directly causing all the global warming. And I don't know anything about that discussion, so I really can't comment.
I would say let me say this to Kraut, just is kind of a fig leaf to this issue of Le Pen, because I'm not sitting here, I have obviously no connection to voting for her, but I'm just saying, and I don't necessarily endorse her, but what I'm saying is that it's important now that the changes that occur happen right now than if they do in the future. Because I think that if we continue down this road of there being nothing but the shit stirrer right winger versus the corporatist, things are going to get worse. They're not going to get better. And we have to deal with this now before the left. And that's who ultimately, you have Obama calling this guy. And I'm just saying that we are going to reach the point where the left is so toxic and so fringe all throughout the West that it will be the right versus the right. There will be no left-wing alternative. And that's when we're all fucked. Because the minute the left, the minute the right, in my opinion, has power, true power, where the left is completely dead, you will see the illiberalism and the authoritarianism come back on the right. That is my estimation of it. So the issue is we got to get this taken care of now before the left is just dead throughout the West.
Yeah.
That's my
well, I personally, my belief is that Le Pen could win. I mean, it's too close to call, but I'm just starting to, my work is mainly about trying to reclaim the left.
Yes.
Trying to
that's my
uncuck
position
it.
as well, man. That's what my position is.
I don't see my purpose in uncucking it by cucking for the far right. I'm not.
But
going
that's the thing. It's a matter of recognizing, from at least my perspective, of the difference between someone like Le Pen, who may actually have some legitimate ties to Russia, or may not be as nationalistic as she pretends to be or purports to be. And I have seen people tell, and I've had people show me evidence to say that she is a bit more talk than actually walking the walk. But the thing is that, like I said, it's just, and that's a good thing for us, because our solution to this should be the next election or at least in France for the left, to provide a viable left-wing alternative that is not a corporatist or is not a lunatic, an absolute deluded globalist, corporatist, fucking just total unelectable piece of shit.
Have you seen what happened in the United States after Trump's election to the Democratic Party? It doubled down on the insanity. It doubled down on the corruption.
It's shedding voters. It is shedding voters.
The decline is continuing. And I'm starting to have this feeling that this kind of tactic is not going to work. Something will have to give on our behalf. Something will have to be done, planting the seeds for something to grow. Because right now, liberalism, the left is just dying. And I dislike specifically the talk about the new center and so forth. The idea that this weird kind of alliance that the right has with the left is this new weird center. This is bullshit. There is no new center. There's just a lunacy, and there's the people that are opposed to the lunacy and right now out of the wilderness. And I think we have to face up to the fact that we are not at the center of the political discussion. We, who consider themselves the liberal center is such a shit word, the liberal democratic left. We're not at the center of the discussion. We're out in the wilderness, and our job is not to endorse the right, not to promote the right, not to bring the right more to power. Our job is also not to destroy what is left of the left.
I don't know. If
job
that's
is to get out of the wilderness.
Hang on. Hang on. I think the problem. Right. Okay. The right at the moment are useful tools for what we need to do. I mean, this is the thing. All these people go, "Oh, you're right. Wouldn't you advocate for this?" So, no, this is just a shared interest, and
I understand that.
Yeah, but what I mean about the thing is, I think that they're the only weapon that we have at the moment that's capable of doing this. They're the only tool at our disposal. I mean, the left they're the ones causing the problem. We can't expect them to. We have to beat them. That's the thing. They have to be beaten, and they have to be beaten consistently to know that they've failed. Because to save the left, I think it's it's going to have to be broken. The socialism has to be taken out of the left. It's cancer. It's just cancer. People don't want it. But it doesn't work. It fails everywhere. It has to go. The ideology, Marxist shit, just has to go.
You as a Brit, you probably remember the Thatcher administration, and you probably remember Kinnock and Scargill, and how Thatcher was kept in power, not necessarily only by her mistake, but by the lunacy that went on in the Labour Party, and how history, in a weird way, that's, by the way, a video I'm working on, history is repeating itself in this regard on a global scale. we're going through what the Labour Party in the UK went through in the 80s.
That's true. It's another
not in
reformation.
every regard.
I mean, it has happened before.
But the thing that saved the Labour Party, and I know that I personally don't like Tony Blair as well, and the thing that saved the Labour Party in the end were people like Tony Blair, Gordon Brown, and the head of the Labour Party who died before the general election. I forgot his name right now. We need figures like that as well. We need people who put in the work in rebuilding what we have.
Yeah, we will need those people. Absolutely. I mean, I'm desperately looking for a viable political alternative. There is actually a Liberal Party.
That's the thing. That's the thing we talked about.
Um,
That's the thing that we talked about in the Skype conversation weeks ago. We should probably consider making ourselves the alternative.
Yeah, I think that basically people are going to have to do it. I mean, it's going to have to happen.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it myself, but I'm happy to promote someone who does. So, if someone clear thinking and it's sort of like our gang.
I completely took this off topic.
No,
I don't think it is off topic.
I think it's important because we've really got to fucking figure out what the fuck we're doing. Because, I mean, there's no question that we have to support these right-wing candidates if we want to defeat the forces that are currently doing the damage. So that is unfortunately a necessary reality, I think.
Yes, and so is it. And I know that Sargon, you and I have actually debated this a little bit in terms of like the sort of off-kiltered alliance between yourself or your channel and people such as us and the progressives out there like Kyle Kalinske, the rest. I think ultimately, like, if you got down to the argument, we're not going to agree with those people. We're not.
Oh no, but the thing is, I mean, that's.
But the dialogue's useful.
Yeah.
It's more than just not communicating.
The difference is in the methods rather than the goals, and I think that we can persuade them that their method's bad if we can have an honest conversation.
Sorry.
That's all right. So yeah, it's not like I get frustrated by that they can't see this, but they're part of the group that's causing the problem, whether they like that group's actions or not. Which, like in the case of Kyle Kalinske,
the only way to get through to them is to talk.
He doesn't like what they're doing, but he is more concerned about the right wing because that's like his traditional concern.
Yes.
I mean, the thing is, I was the sort of person who didn't get involved in politics because of people like him sticking it to Bill O'Reilly and stuff like that.
Right.
But when those people started disappearing, and they turned out that not disappearing, but became less relevant because they're left with the problem themselves. They were starting violating people's rights. That's my problem. You're violating people's rights. You've got to stop that. And not only that, but now you've become a threat to the bloody nation itself. So it's
like I said, this isn't like a permanent trajectory. At least I hope the fucking Christ not, where we're always going to be at odds with this lunatic element of the left. Yeah. My hope is that eventually they'll either go away through their own ignorance and arrogance, or we will take them down. And that might be a tall order, and that might be ego talking at our end, or my end at least. But it's just a matter of it has to happen.
Yeah, no, this is
because the Democratic.
The goal is to destroy their movement, to make it ridiculous.
The fucking fact is that the Democratic Party, at least in the United States, is not a fucking viable party. The numbers spell that out. It is not a viable party. It is shedding white voters, black voters, Latino voters, Asian voters.
It's getting less viable by the day. I mean, this is on a trajectory downwards. We need to break it and take things from it. Take.
Well, remember that 8 years ago. Remember that 8 years ago, people were saying the same things about the GOP.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, but that's the problem. The GOP didn't improve. The GOP didn't improve. The fact is that the Democratic Party got worse, demonstrably worse than the GOP, and as a result of that, they lost. It wasn't the GOP coming back.
I made that statement. I made that statement in terms of it's still salvageable, hopefully.
With the Democratic Party, I don't even know.
I think
it's
just build
so
anew.
Fucking bad.
Build anew.
So do what I remember. What was his fucking name? The guy who split from the Labour Party during the 80s. David Owen, exactly.
Yeah, basically.
David Owen,
create a liberal. I don't know who he ran, but create a liberal Democrat style thing, so it's a third party alternative, and then start popularizing
something. Because I honestly think that with the GOP, if you had a platform that you could offer that was not race-based, that was more egalitarian, that focused on the efforts and the interests and the vote of the working class, regardless of location. So we're going to speak to the rural white voter. We're going to speak to the conservative voters. Maybe we can have disagreement within the party in the terms of religion, but we're still willing to represent your interest in Congress, in the White House.
Here's something. Something I noticed. I've met quite a few Americans in recent time, and I also met a lot of Americans living in Germany, specifically the kids of army veterans and so forth. And most Americans I know are conservatives. Most of them also happen to be Southern conservatives. Most Americans I know are Texans. And the one thing that I noticed about Americans that vote GOP, they all fucking hate the GOP. There's this weird dynamic, this weird relationship. It's not necessarily weird. I would actually say it's a positive relationship because they're extremely critical of the Conservative Party in the United States and are constantly on heel and constantly creating new movements like the Tea Party movement to hackle and hack down on the GOP to ensure that it is accountable to them as the voters of that party. And that kind of relationship, it seems to me, doesn't exist at all with the United States Democratic Party. There seems to be nothing.
There's dissident progressives, but there are also a bunch of corporate progressives, and they're the ones controlling the reins of power.
I see unity. I see forced unity. I see the progressive corporatist alliance. I see people speaking of the Democrats in the highest terms, not even thinking about criticizing the party for once, being angry at the party, creating a separate movement.
Angry at the Democrat Party. The Bernie supporters hate the Democrat Party because they conspired to fuck Bernie. They hate it.
Yeah, but then you don't see the same kind of, organized hatred and the organized opposition to internal party politics. And
that's what the Justice
as
Democrats
you see with the GOP.
That's what Justice Democrats is. Their plan is to.
How popular are the Justice?
Well,
Democrats?
I don't think they're doing brilliantly. To be honest, I haven't seen any results of it. But I don't know how long the timescale is supposed to be for it. It could be like a year. But I mean, I don't know how quick it is. But that's exactly what the Justice Democrats is. I mean, Cheng's backing it, and Carl's backing it and stuff. So you've got. I mean, they talk about it with some regularity, and I mean they've got quite a lot of influence when it comes to like Democrat politics.
Well, no, yes and no, because ultimately one of the things that is undercutting most of the reform that the Democratic Party needs is the social issues. It is the bait. It is the red herrings. It is the fucking identity politics. It is the trans shit. It is all of that. And every single one of those issues is playing upon previous actual issues that existed within the Democratic Party, but are now just red herring. It's just bait. It's just AstroTurf. And so when you see things such as the Women's March and all of these things that have occurred, not necessarily the
all of these bourgeois
Antifa
issues,
all that shit.
Yes,
that is
poor people don't have these problems. Just people
and it is for the purpose of unifying the party. It is for the purposes of undercutting the actual people calling for reform and just trying to unite around the Progressive Corporatist Alliance. That is what their ends are. They want to unify the party.
Protect their own hold over the party. Of course they are.
Yes.
But these things have to be undone at elections by people.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying is that if the progressives that are out there, and I think even though he annoys the shit out of me, Jimmy Dore is one of the only ones that is willing to recognize that that problem exists. And Kraut's right that is a fundamental problem with the Democratic Party right now and the left, so to say, in the United States, because there are people that will accept corporatism if they feel good, if they get their belly rubbed about
all
these
they have to do is project progressive propaganda, and suddenly they're on board with it. But I mean, you've got to do it really fucking carefully, Pepsi. You have.
Yeah, well, that by itself, I don't want to get into a tangent, but I swear to God, that is something all on its own. That is something new. That is something different.
They shouldn't incorporate it into their advertising.
Well, the thing is, no, that is essentially like we've used the phrase, the Progressive Corporatist Alliance. That is the corporatist element overplaying its hand.
Yeah, well, I can tell. No,
and they're going for the kill.
But no, it's even worse than that, right? That was the corporatist element of the alliance, demonstrating that it hadn't submitted. That's the worst
Oh,
That's the
absolutely.
worst part, and that's what they're reacting to. That's what they're pissed off about, right? It's not that it's not that they're not putting out the propaganda they want. It's that they're trying to do it on their own initiative. They didn't. They should have just had, like, whatever, like, choose like a famous SJW. Anyone will do, and they should make a big deal about them making their next advert.
Or an organization. Or an organization.
Whatever. But a big
Lad,
name amongst
whatever
a
you want
big,
to find.
well-respected name amongst the SJW communities, and then have them just control the whole process. Then they would get away scot-free, and they'd be singing their praises all over me. And I would know who not to buy from because the SJWs are promoting. Sorry, I'm just doing that.
Yep.
I'm not buying the shit if you're like working.
Absolutely. Because, but again, like I've said, this is all a proxy. Yeah. This is all a proxy. No matter what they say about social justice and about doing right by the people of America or the minorities or fucking whomever, what this is about is ultimately their end, their interests, and the spread of corporatism, the rot in this fucking country. Yeah. That is what the end of this is. They're just looking for their own fucking golden parachute. That's what all of this is about.
And the SJWs will happily use these giant corporations in abject hypocrisy to everything they've ever said about giant corporations. So it's just like, no, you don't believe it. Even if you fucking say it, you don't act it. So you don't believe it, and I don't give a shit what you have to say about it. You're a giant fucking hypocrite as far as I'm concerned.
Yes,
my God,
and when it comes to
those fucking fabulous t-shirts made by fucking Indonesian women at like 60p a day.
Yeah.
And this is what a feminist looks like. Fuck yourselves, you selfish twats, honestly.
And it's not just that, it's getting in bed with these corporations. You have these banks pushing the wage gap bullshit on International Women's Day.
And they love it.
It is systemic.
Yeah, and it is all about the West. They're deliberately propagating fake news.
Yes, and
it's more like an inconvenient. This inconvenient kind of alliance between social justice and big corporations. I think that is actually something more likely to break in the near future.
No, because I disagree completely.
It's purely based upon marketing. It's purely based upon selling a product, and most corporations mainly want to sell their products. And as soon as there's a bite back, the thing about the Pepsi advert was that it had the failed Pepsi advert, it had the exact reverse effect. It spread the Pepsi brand even further. You had people buying Pepsi cans and going to protests and shoving them into people's faces as a meme.
Right.
But if there ever comes a point where there's a backlash, and I'm pretty sure that this is going to happen, that a corporation makes some social justice advert and it just tremendously fucking backfires to an extent that they actually lose. No, I mean...
in future, we don't know what the trend of Pepsi sales is going to be like. It could be on a downward trend from here on out. Who knows?
And you're operating
as soon as something like that happens, that alliance breaks.
But you're operating on the assumption. You're operating on the assumption that there already is the opposition to social justice that is 100% mainstream, because it isn't just us. It has to be the normal public. It has to be the normies, so to say. It has to be enough people that it can actually cause damage for there to be a break. And I'm telling you that there's too much vested interest. There's too much propaganda. And the fact is that the progressives have not backed down. They're going full throttle into this alliance, this unholy alliance. And they, whether they know it or not, are spreading the rot and cementing the fact that the left is not viable, at least here in America. And we have to get these people out of it. That's my fucking thing, is I'm in the ditch. I'm ready to dig, or ready to fucking get myself out of it in any way. Like, we have to do something to get the left out of this rut. And the thing that is only going to cement us further down into this rut is this alliance with corporations. It is not, because the fucking money won't matter. It might matter for continuing your fucking existence and continuing the existence of the organization that you fucking spout bullshit for, but it's not going to do anything for you being a viable party or having a viable candidate. And that's all that fucking matters, is whether you win or fucking lose. And that's my big concern. The progressives, the corporatists, they are fucking losers. That's a fact of the fucking matter. So the progressives need to wake the fuck up. They're not viable. They think they are. They're not.
No, I completely agree. I mean, I find it very interesting as well, the advertising thing. That they're interested... I mean, like, advertisements are pure propaganda for corporations.
Yes.
That's what they are. I mean, you know this when you see an advert, which is why you ignore the advert. Everything up until that point and beyond is meant to be pro-propaganda. There's no question of it. It couldn't be more finely tuned. They have whole departments working on how to propagandize you into buying their products. It's their livelihood. So they must be good at it, you know. And it's not that they're doing that is the problem. I don't like adverts on that basis, right? No, the progressives are fine with it. They just want to control the propaganda.
Yes.
So it's also their propaganda.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like that. It's
Yes.
just fucking devilish. That's what you fucking are.
One-
You should want to have
one of the
nothing to do with that.
comparisons-
You know, fucking...
One of the comparisons that I want to make it to is to what's going on currently with the Wendy's thing. All the shit that's going around about
What
Wendy's.
is happening?
That is a natural... It's just people on the internet loving the fact that the social media manager on Twitter just doesn't give a shit and gives out all these pithy responses to people and memes people and trolls people and shit like that, and goes after other corporations and fucks with them. And people love it. They love it because it's irreverent, it's fun, it's interesting, and it's not corporate. It's not PC,
Stale.
and people like that. And still, bland. And the thing is, are the progressives going after that? Are they going after this natural occurrence? Are they memeing? Are they talking about their own politics? Are they doing anything that's fun or irreverent? No. What they're doing is they're going after Pepsi. They're going after these major companies. They're going after banks. They're going after the people that are only looking after their own interests. And that's what my thing is.
Heroes of
these
the people
people
is what they're setting themselves up as. This is playing to the popular crowd, This Wendy's McNuggets thing, this was actually a work of genius if you think about it, right? Yo, Wendy's, how many retweets for a year of free chicken nuggets? 18 million. Consider it done. He's on 3.4 million.
It was a global news story.
That is, I'm going to retweet that. I haven't done my part. I'm sorry, Carter.
And the fact is that everything that has come out of Wendy's, every single fucking thing that I've seen, is positive. It's all positive. It's all grassroots. It's all positive. It's all irreverent and funny and humorous and pithy. It is what people are looking for in advertisements. It's what people want. It's what they're fine clicking on. It's what they're fine, just talking about and memeing and having fun and drawing fan art.
It's basic human interaction.
Yes.
It's not lecturing, and that is what
and
we're
it has
encountering.
efficacy. It has viability to it. It has a vibrancy that, as a corporation, you should want, because it disseminates your brand and it gives you a cool image and a popular image. And what you see with the left currently and what they're pursuing is the exact antithesis. It is the opposite. It is trying to present yourself and assert yourself to everyone as the establishment, as those on the block that cannot be challenged, those that are above it all. That is what they're doing and what they're doing now, because all they fucking do is moralize to everyone. That's all they fucking do is want to be seen.
Well, it has become part of it has been. This is something that Naked Ape brings up consistently when I talk to him. It's kind of become the disease of the left, the moralizing thing.
Yes.
I mean, it goes back to ages. I mean, moralizing had its place at one point when you had, for example, the civil rights movement and so forth. When you had to make a moral statement, when you had to make a moral argument. But right now, moralizing has become this weird fucking zombie-like thing. It's something to revive dead issues. It's something.
Yes.
It creates a false position of superiority from which people talk down to others, and that's the only thing that the left seems to be about.
And it's not just that; it's even more than that, because not only are they doing that, not only are they morally grandstanding, and I've coined this myself, that I refer to these people, especially out on the West Coast, as the Bay Area moral majority, because that is how they act. Because they will do things that are clearly, to anyone, plain as day, unethical in pursuit of their moral righteousness.
Yeah.
It is disgusting on its face.
There's something. Did you talk to Naked Ape about his proposed campaign of Pepsi hates you?
No, I've got something relevant to this. Yeah, the moral arguments are basically personal self-aggrandizement. I was reading Nietzsche earlier, and one of the things that really stood out to me was there is no bigger liar than an indignant man, and it's just like, that is fucking true, man. It's actually fucking true. I mean, it's just you going, I'm a better person than you, so I will lecture. And it's like, okay, it doesn't change the reality of what's going to end up happening.
It has its place.
It does have its place. You're right, but it's not like.
It's not a political statement.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
something. It is. I do it whenever I make a moral judgment. I always do it on a
Yeah,
character
yeah.
basis.
I'm talking about you
I
as a
always
person.
say, you did this. You did this. You're a horrible person because you did this. Fuck you for doing this. Apologize for doing this.
But it usually, even in your case, a crowd, and I know that you criticize yourself in that regard when using that kind of position, but it always coincides with something else and another position or another argument, and you are not at the same time acting completely unethically.
Well,
yourself.
hang on.
That's the big difference. I criticize unethical behavior.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. Right? The problem is actually the point of it. Right? It works with someone like me because I have an ethical standard I hold myself to. You know, I don't take corporate sponsorships. I don't do mean things to people. You know, stuff like this. You know, I actually hold myself to standards. But these people do not hold themselves to any standards. So
yes.
You can't make a moral argument against them. It's like making a moral argument against the Holocaust denial to someone, a white nationalist, a Nazi. It's like, fuck you. You know, I don't give a shit about
exactly. It doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work. I mean, don't worry, it works on me a lot. I love your videos because I find them to have this deep moral impact, and as well as the information I'm looking for. So that's why I watch your videos, you know. But I like the deep moral impact because on a personal level, it speaks to me very much. You know, I agree with those standards and I agree with your morality. You know, I think that's the right thing to do. So.
Yeah, but it's not. I make it very clear. It's not a universal
kind of thing. No. But the thing is, we need to start talking to the people who can be deprogrammed, and like, I don't think approaching them with a moral argument is correct because these people are materialists. That's the thing.
Exactly.
First, right?
I was about to say that. I mean, that's the whole thing, especially in regards to Nietzsche as well. That, at least for myself, I approach things, and you do too, Kraut. You're not giving yourself, you're not being generous with what your content that you produce. That you have to approach things from the position of a moral skeptic, if you want to actually have any kind of efficacy in this regard. Because the fact is that you already have the other side morally grandstanding, and so you have to be a moral skeptic in that sense. You have to do it if you're actually going to have any kind of argument that's going to have any kind of effect in that regard. It doesn't mean that you become a moral relativist or a nihilist in that regard, but you have to be skeptical of even arguing from a moral
morality
perspective.
Has to become a lens that you put on, you know, and like a lens that you can also take off. Because these people don't view the world in moral terms. Marxism is exclusively materialist lens. It doesn't.
Yes.
They don't believe in metaphysics in their calculation of why things happen. And so things like love, hate, and all that, they don't care. You know, they don't pay attention to that when they're making it. They're looking at the physical conditions and all that sort of thing. And so approaching them with moral arguments isn't going to persuade them. We need to persuade them with physical ones. A material argument is the best refutation. Pointing out that communism ends up in total fucking poverty for everyone. Advanced versions of arguments like that. That's a strong argument against communism.
Defer to economics. Just if you
they think of themselves like the ANCAPs think of themselves. They think they understand economics. Like the ANCAPs, they think they understand economics, and they think that everyone else is a normie who doesn't. And they actually have. All they do is have economic arguments. They don't care about death tolls. They don't care about how many people have to die. If you watch them arguing amongst themselves, they don't give a shit because they are psychos. And it's just like, okay, so, you know, they just think that once the utopia's here, it'll be fine for everyone because they're fucking nuts. So yeah, you know, moral arguments work for us and your audience.
Normal people.
And don't worry, they work for growing your audience as well. But like, I think that I'm not talking about you specifically, actually. You know, I mean, you obviously make the videos you want to make, and like I said, I like your moral arguments. So for me personally, but if I'm taking off that lens,
I agree,
and putting on like a materialist lens and thinking, right, what do I care about? You're then making a moral argument. Well, I'm not persuaded by that because people who are in poverty, there is still a capitalist system, blah blah blah. You know, we haven't seized the means of production, all this sort of shit. So you know, you just feel like, right, okay, don't care. You know, if it'll be fine once we've done it. So just shut up until, you know. So they'll just ignore it.
That's not necessarily what I'm doing. I'm, for example,
no. Like I said, I wasn't trying to criticize you.
A good example. I'll put forward. I think one of my best videos is Islamic hatred of gays, and what I did was list everything.
Oh yeah.
This is what is being done there. This is what's happening. This is what is being done to people, and so forth and so forth. And then at the end, I think this is disgusting.
Absolutely.
At the end, I make my moral statement, and that's the way I think you should make any kind. For example, if you a good example, for example, is the way that social justice warriors engage with us. There's, for example, this Saudi Arabian I told you about this Saudi Arabian atheist who contacted me half a year ago, asked me for help to get him out of Saudi Arabia and to Europe. And I gave him documents, talked to him about which place is best to go. I actually tried to talk him into going to the US and Canada, but in the end decided, if you really want to go to Europe, go to Switzerland or to Austria. And he contacted me out of the blue a few months later. There was this Pakistani guy who tried to dox him to have him executed. And I went on a fucking rampage after that Pakistani guy and called him Paki scum in a tweet. And I remember that tweet was taken. That is the thing that we don't do. Because that tweet, Paki scum, where I called this guy who tried to get someone murdered and called him a fucking Paki scumbag, that tweet was taken as evidence of me apparently being a racist. That is the moralizing that I am trying to avoid. That is the nitpicking, making moral overarching statement, being self-aggrandizing and saying, I am the chief of all moral authority. I determine what is right or wrong. I pick everything apart. I take this one thing. That is the kind of moralizing which is completely misplaced. This is the kind of, because when you make a moral argument, you have to make a case. You can't just simply say, oh, I am the good guy, you are the bad guy, therefore follow me and agree with me. No, you have to say, this is why I believe that this is good. This is why I believe that other thing is bad. And this is why I believe I'm making a case for something that is good and morally just. You have to make a case. You can't just simply assert authority.
Yeah, no, I agree. The thing with them calling you a racist, again, all of this thought policing stuff is a moral argument. It's so let's say I basically got Hitler's brain. If I do nothing wrong, if I take no action and I do nothing and hurt nobody, if I am still the world's biggest racist, it doesn't fucking matter. I haven't done anything wrong.
It's also morally questionable, and it's not just only intellectually lazy and dishonest. It's also morally wrong.
Yeah, but what I mean is
because these people ended up calling me a racist on the basis of defending a guy who tried to get someone murdered. This is what I know. I don't know. Yeah,
but what I mean is
also defended it.
But what?
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. And then it's alright. We go off on tangents. It's okay. I mean, I don't know. But like, what I was trying to say is basically like, they're making a moral argument. It's not an argument with any substance. So it's. I mean, you literally could just turn around and say not an argument.
Right. I was going to say, but what we're talking about here, at least as far as myself and Sargon here, in terms of moral arguments, it's a matter of trying to get the average progressive, not you, Kraut, but the average progressive, off of morality.
Yeah.
And onto, in my opinion, what is a litmus test for who's on the fucking left. And as I've said earlier in our Skype conversation, in my opinion, it should be a matter of economics. Are you pursuing the interests of the working class? Are you doing that? And if you're not, if you're just pursuing moral bullshit, then you're not a leftist. I think that this needs to, if you're going to morally grandstand, if you're going to call somebody out and have a litmus test and challenge somebody, it has to be on this. It has to be on economics.
This is the thing that annoys me, though. It's like, if they won't talk about, I mean, they don't care about morality at all, and yet they will use moral arguments.
And that's all they concern themselves
deceptive as fuck. I mean, Nietzsche is completely right. You are no more, the biggest liar is indignant. It really, you are just lying. You don't care about moral arguments. Stop fucking using them. We're going to use economic arguments from here on out, and let's have the case for socialism. Right. I'm going to start reading about Venezuela. What are you going to start reading? You're going to start reading Mao's little red book or something. Fucking, it's cancer, and it has to go. But anyway, I think what I'll do is I'll stop there. I mean, it's not like we can't have another one of these talks, but this is like an hour.
Recording this.
Yeah, I've been recording.
I forgot.
Yeah, this has been like an hour and 20 minutes long. So,
real quick, can I get one last thing here? The fact is that this is the true danger of the progressives that think they're gonna walk into fucking power and win anything. Is that all you have is your fucking moral grandstanding? You're not gonna win shit, and that's it. That's all I have to say.
I'd like to thank, what's his name again? Let me look it up. I'd like to thank 6 million Jews killed Adolf Hitler for subscribing to me. You have the most amazing channel name that there is.